There you go.
Thank you very much. To start with, can you forgive me for being in a wheelchair? Um, I've had a couple of operations on my knee, and unfortunately, it's left me in a terrible state. And I'm on crutches, and I keep falling over. Keep losing my balance. I keep falling over. So I have to be very, very careful about hobbling around. And so I'm taking it easy, and I'm going to do this talk this afternoon in the wheelchair. So any questions you want to ask me, I'll be only too pleased to try and answer them. But as I said, my apologies for not being up on stage.
So because of that reason, is it possible of you guys in the front, please sit down so that everybody can see? Thank you, guys. Yeah, I'm going to start up with the question I think is on everybody's mind right now. The trailer for episode 7 was released yesterday. What do you think of the trailer and the fact that they continue the saga now when all known villains are dead and all heroes are old?
Everybody keep coming up to me and they say, well, are you going to be in episode 7? And I said, well, no, I got killed off in 6. So there's not much chance of me being in episode 7. And so really, I basically heard very, very little about what was happening, on the movie. It was all being filmed at Pinewood Studios. And of course, I didn't get one invite to go down to Pinewood Studios to see what was going on. So I didn't meet anybody, and I didn't know anybody or anything like this at all. And I saw the trailer this morning, just on I think I was on TV at the hotel, and I really didn't think anything of it at all. I just thought it was very naff, to be honest. I didn't think it did much for the film, and because it didn't introduce you to any of the major characters or anything like this at all. No, I wasn't very impressed at all. Not with the trailer. Did anybody here see the trailer? Have you all seen the trailer? Well, come on. What's your opinion of it? Did you like it? Did you think it made episode 7 look as though it was going to be a great movie?
Yes.
Did you? Yes. One. I forgot one.
Maybe.
Yeah, go on, carry on.
Yeah, as always, if anybody had a question, just raise your hand and I will be there, okay? I understand there were different versions of the Vader costume until they come up with the final one. Did you ever try one of these early rejected versions?
No, none whatsoever. I had the same costume through all 3 movies. The only thing they did with me actually was we started Star Wars, and we had I think we had a very, very an opaque lens, and Lucas kept on saying, I'm terribly sorry, but we don't want to see anything of you whatsoever. I said, well, thank you very much. A great movie role that we're going to have. And they said, no, we don't want to see, and we can see your eyes flickering. And when you're delivering your dialogue and things like this in the close-ups, we can see your eyes flickering. We don't want to see anything of you whatsoever. And so they kept on darkening these lenses they had in the mask. And eventually they were so dark I couldn't see where I was going at all. and unless you were really under the very, very bright lights in the studio, I had terrible vision problems. Yeah.
Any questions? Otherwise I'll continue. Yeah, okay. Talking about the Vader outfit, I'm curious, in case that you needed to pee, did you need to take it all off, or was it some kind of hatch, or?
No, I'm afraid you didn't want, you went to pee first thing in the morning, and that was the end of it. you couldn't go, it came up until you finished filming in the afternoon. Or maybe when you broke for lunch you could do, but the thing was you had leather trousers which came out to about here, and then braces. I can't honestly think that there was a fly on the trousers. I don't think there was. And then you had your top piece, your jacket, your main piece which covered your body, came down and zipped underneath. underneath your crutch. You see, so it was quite difficult. If you wanted to go to the toilet, you virtually had to undress completely, before you could do anything. As I said, you had to be very, very careful as to how much you drank during the course of the morning, and or in the afternoon as well. So because you weren't going to get to the toilet until 6 o'clock in the evening, as it were. So, but it was quite okay. It was quite managed. I got a question over there.
Yes, Dave. You recently returned as the Green Code Crossman. Could you?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
It made the news over here, did it?
Yes, for us fans,
Yeah.
it did.
Yeah.
Certainly. Could you tell us about the return to such an iconic commercial character?
Yeah. Well, the Green Cross Code, I don't know whether you know or not, but I was the figurehead of the British government's Child Pedestrian Road Safety campaign, which ran from 1976 through to 90. It was like 14 years of going around the schools and giving talks to children in schools all about road safety. And it was a fantastic campaign, because in the period that we were working on the campaign, we actually reduced the road accident figures in Great Britain to children by over half. And in the year 2000, I actually got awarded the MBE from the Queen. I had to go to Buckingham Palace and receive this medal from the Queen for my services to road safety and charity. Thank you. Thank you. So, this was obviously a great honour, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And now what's happened is that all these years later, so it's 15 years later, or it's 15 years later, an insurance company got in touch with me and said, look, we would love to relaunch the Green Cross Code campaign, but this time we want to aim it at adults, not children, nothing to do with children. And so I said, well, what do you mean? What are you actually trying to get at? And they said, well, the problem these days with adults is that nearly all the adults have all got iPhones, and they got earphones as well. I said, and they walk along the street looking at their iPads and their phones, and they haven't got a clue what's going on around them, and they're walking out into the middle of the road, and bang, next thing you know, they've got no idea as to the traffic situation, and so we made I think 2 or 3 commercials about the problems of crossing the roads and things like this, and we had all sorts of people working with us. And we had a guy walking along the road pushing a pram with one hand and a telephone in the other hand, and walking between 2 parked cars. It was some of the terrible things that they were trying to get over to the public. But they've it's come out and it's been a huge success, and it's got me fantastic publicity. I mean, I think I've made every national newspaper in Great Britain in the last week, and so only just happened just before we came over. Yeah, it's been. I'm obviously looking forward to a very, very successful campaign. Yeah.
So which one do you prefer being recognized as, the hero or the villain?
Well, I think Darth Vader was Darth Vader, as you all probably aware. Darth Vader is now regarded as the ultimate screen villain of all time, which is a fantastic accolade for somebody like me to have, and it's the sort of being Darth Vader that enables me to do virtually anything I want to do. I mean, it's an incredible opening to work, and people want to meet you, and people want to talk to you, and people want to interview you, and things like this. I'm in a very, very happy situation at the present moment. I really am, purely and simply because, as I said, but Darth Vader has been so good to me. I'm traveling all over the world. If I want to, I can be somewhere different in the world every weekend. I get so many requests to do these shows like this all over the world, and. Unfortunately at the moment I'm having a few problems, so I'm restricting the number of foreign trips that I do, but I'm still doing them all, as I said, back in the UK, almost on a weekend basis. It's really, really amazing, and the reception that you get everywhere is fantastic as well.
Good.
I'm just curious, what was your first reaction when you read the manuscript for Star Wars in the 70s?
When I saw the script for Star Wars, To be perfectly honest, I mean, it was, you know, I read the script and sort of realised that, you know, Vader was the villain of the film, but I really didn't take an awful lot of notice, you know, of it, and it was just, to me, it was just another job at the time. I went to the studios, and the sets were very, very interesting, and the people, you know, it was nice to be in a sort of a space. A space movie, as it were, you know, because it was all slightly different to the normal type movies that you were working on. But people used to people used to say to me, they said, "Well, you know, what's this film you're working on?" And I said, "What's well, a load of rubbish." You actually, and little did I know. No, but I really didn't think we were doing anything really out of the ordinary, to be honest. I mean, you know, we had a situation where, I mean, Harrison and Mark and Carrie and things like this, you know, they all seem to sort of keep very much to themselves. And then, you know, the English side of the cast, you know, were a bit into themselves a little bit. I won't say whom, but I mean, I got on very well with Kenny, but not at all. I hardly saw anything of C-3PO. I didn't see much of him at all. I know it was an interesting film to work on, but you know, nobody. I don't really. I think anybody on the movie thought that Star Wars was going to do anything. Was going to be anything out of the ordinary. Little did we know.
Is it true that you actually was offered the part at Chewbacca as well as Darth Vader?
I was offered Chewbacca. Yeah, I was offered Chewbacca first. They said, would you be interested in playing? We got one of two parts that we'd like to offer you. And I said, what are the two parts? They said, well, the first character is a character called Chewbacca. And I said, what's that? They said, well, it's like a hairy gorilla that goes through the film on the side of the goodies. And all I could think of was 3 months in a gorilla skin. And I said, no. I said, what's the other one? And they said, well, the other one's the big villain of the film, a character called Darth Vader. I said, don't say any more, George. I'll have the villain's part. And that was it. And there was no question of it. Like, on the other hand, I think obviously Peter Mayhew came in and made a wonderful job. Did a wonderful job of Chewbacca. I often think as to whether I would do the same, if I would have made the same sort of success of Chewbacca as we have them with Vader. It was a quite an interesting choice to have. Yeah.
I know I have a question over here.
How did you feel when you knew that they weren't going to use your voice?
Well, the voice situation annoys me intensely. It really does. Because what actually happened is I did the voice all the way through all 3 movies, all right? And I learned all the dialogue and I delivered all the dialogue. And I kept on saying to George, what are we going to do about the voice, George? Because everything I'm saying is coming through the mask. It's all from behind the mask. And I said, it's okay, all the other actors can hear me. And you know, they all get the gist of what we're doing. I said, but obviously it's no good for reproduction purposes, you see. And he said, oh, no, don't worry about this. He said, we'll go into the sound studios and re-record all your dialogue at the end of the movie, you see. So I automatically assumed that it was me that was going to go into the sound studios and re-record all the dialogue, do the dialogue properly in the studio situation. Anyway, what happened was they got to the end of the movie, and then of course there was a mad panic because they wanted to get back to America to get all the special effects that they wanted in the States. And when they chased back to America, they suddenly realized that they hadn't overdubbed my voice. I hadn't done the overdubbing of the voice, you see. And then of course it was too expensive to fly me all the way over to America to overdub Darth Vader's lines, which could have been done in sort of half an hour, as it were. And so instead of asking me to do it, they got James Earl Jones in to do it. I think James Earl Jones did a wonderful job. And I've met him a couple of times, and he's a wonderful, wonderful guy. I like him very much. But I hate what's happened is that everybody thinks that they didn't use my voice because they didn't like my West Country accent, or not my English accent, or whatever you like to call it. I'm actually from the West Country of England, a place called Bristol. And in the West Country of England, people tend to over-pronounce things like ers and rs and things like this, you see. And I think they all thought I was going to go, oh, my dear, I'm going to get the women lightsaber now, you know. And I said, no, I don't talk like that. You know, that's not the way I talk. You know, I like to think I'm fairly educated, you know, Bristolian. I had a grammar school education and things like this. And I don't go around saying, "Where my dear? I can hear you." No, but it really pisses me off, to be honest, excuse me, it pisses me off. As I said, that everybody seems to think that James Earl Jones did it because you know, they didn't like my voice, and there was really nothing to do. He hadn't had the opportunity of doing the voice properly.
Just a side note about that, because I saw a video clip that they spread from the behind the scenes, and they really say that it was partly because of the accent. So it's rude of them, I think, to say that when you explain this now. But another thing, did you make any? You mentioned Kenny, that you made a friendship with Kenny during the production. Did you?
I mentioned what?
That you made friends with Kenny during the production.
Kenny, yeah.
Did you have any other friendships that you?
Well, Kenny, yeah. No, not really. I mean, there's, you met various people, you know, on the set, but there was no sort of after film friendships, as it were. I kept in touch with Kenny over the years. Like, you know, we've seen each other at conventions all around the world. You know. But you know, you very rarely. I mean, Peter Mayhew was another English actor who used to live fairly close to where I live. But what happened was he got himself tied up with a young lady and got married and went to live in America. So that was the end of the association that I had with Peter Mayhew, which was really the only other person that I had any association with in the movie. So it was only Kenny and Peter would have been the only two people that I did. Yeah. With the I mean, Carrie Fisher, Carrie, Mark, and Harrison, they used to keep very much to themselves. I've met Carrie a few times since. In fact, years ago, I was doing a stint at the London Palladium. I was playing a muscle man in a production at the London Palladium, and Carrie was in the sound. I think it was a Debbie Reynolds show or something like this. From her mother was there was the main character in the show. And but Carrie used to come on the very last scene, or the very last event within this program, and she used to come on and sing one song, you see. And I always remember we always used to stand in the wings, waiting for Carrie to sing her song, like that, and waiting for her to finish her song. So it was the very last thing in the show, and we were all waiting for Carrie to. She had a very high note to hit at the end of this song. And sort of 9 times out of 10, she never hit the note. Like, you know, we'd all stand on the side laughing our heads off. You know, the struggle that she was trying to get to this high note. And I've seen Carrie quite a few times, you know, since then, and seen her at different conventions and so on. You know, she's always good, you know, good friends. And when I see her, yeah.
Were there a big difference to make the episode 5 and 6 when the first one was such a big success, and now you had a different director, and was the production different?
No, I don't think so. No, I think it was just, you know, we were riding on a crest of a wave. You know, Star Wars came out, it was such a huge success, and then Empire Strikes Back came along. We had Irving Kershner directing, and he was a very interesting director to work with. I got on very well with them. I think Empire was a really good movie. And then of course we did Jedi after that, and that was with Richard Marquand. I didn't have much of an association with Richard Marquand, but it still turned out to be quite a good movie. So it's you know, but they weren't there. It wasn't. I think the first one everybody got quite pally with each other. Like, you know, although the Americans tended to keep themselves to themselves, in the main it was you know, the cast was primarily English. And they all used to keep together, and then you used to have Harrison, Mark, and Billy D. Williams. You know, they kept themselves to themselves, but it just went on all the way through the 3 movies, you know, like that.
I know since Star Wars was such a big success, I know when filming Return of the Jedi, you went under the name Blue Harvest, just so people wouldn't know there was a new Star Wars film that was made. But when filming Return of the Empire, Did you have any code name for that as well?
No, I didn't know anything. No, don't know anything about that at all.
There was no need for that.
No, no.
Did you like the remakes of the first movies? And did you get pissed off that it took away you in the end?
It was hard.
She wondered whether you liked the remakes of the first movies, and if you were upset when you were replaced in the end.
I don't know anything about the remakes. What do you mean by the remakes?
The last 3 episodes that came out. So the last episode 3.
The remake of episode 4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6.
When Sebastian Shaw was in the end instead of you.
Don't know, I don't.
But he wasn't in the end,
No.
in the hologram.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Which scene was your most favorite scene to film?
Oh, I can't tell. It's so long ago. I can't remember that much about it, to be perfectly honest. I don't know. No, that needs a lot of thinking about. Yeah. Because I mean, on 3 movies, you did 3 movies, and so. Don't forget that. I mean, I did lots of other movies besides Star Wars. I mean, you can talk about Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange, for instance. You know, I remember a lot more about Clockwork Orange than I do about working on Star Wars. To be honest, you know. Yes, there's one question over there. Yes.
What's your favorite scene in Clockwork Orange?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the nice scenes. I had a very nice association with Stanley Kubrick. But when we started the movie, everybody was frightened to death of Stanley. Everybody was really frightened to death of him because he's a bit of a tyrant, like, you know. He's a hard taskmaster. And there's a story that goes around about Stanley. It says they refer to him as Mr. Umpteen Takes Kubrick, because they say he's never be satisfied with 1 take if 20 takes will do. And he'll shoot, overshoot, and overshoot, and overshoot, you see. And so we were all a bit wary about how he was going to work, and he tended to, as I said, to do the scenes lots and lots and lots of times, you see. And then we got to a stage where I had he came out to me one day and he said, this is the scene where you're going to carry Patrick McGee down the stairs in his wheelchair. I said, pardon? He said, you have to carry this Patrick McGee down the stairs in his wheelchair. I said, oh, well, hang on, whoa. I said, hang on a minute. I said, Patrick McGee must weigh at least like 180 pounds, like, you know. And I said, you want me to carry him down 3 flights of stairs, see? And I said, and then put him down on the floor, and wheel him into the table, and then hold a dialogue scene. He said, yes. I said, well, hang on a minute. I said, your name's not 1 Take Kubrick, is it? And everyone went, oh my God, he's called him 1 Take Kubrick, like, you know. And Stanley just turned around and said, he laughed, and he said, we'll do it as quick as we can. I think we did it in about 6 takes. But what I had to do, I had to take a wheelchair, and then put the handles of the wheelchair over on the shoulders. Then I had to pull the wheelchair into myself, right? And then this actor, Patrick McGee, was, as I said, he must have weighed about 160, 180 pounds. He would get up on a chair and then sit in the wheelchair facing away from me, and I'm holding the wheelchair, it's already onto my shoulders, and I'm holding the wheelchair into myself tight. And now I got to walk down 3 flights of stairs, you see. And I get to the bottom of the stairs, lower him down onto the floor, wheel him into the table, and then sit at the table. And then there's a dialogue scene, you see. And I'm sat at the table, and by the time I've done all this, I sit at the table down and going, I'm trying to disguise the fact I'm out of breath and absolutely shattered. And I said to Stanley, I said, look, Stanley, I said, I'm not going to do this scene umpteen times, like, you know. And he said, don't worry, he said, we'll shoot it as quick as we can. I think we shot it about 5 or 6 times, you know. But as I said, every time I got to the table, it was like, I'm sat at the table trying, we're supposed to be at supper, you know. And I'm sat at the table and I'm going, great. As Stanley, I got on very well with Stanley Kubrick, and we finished the movie, and I had an open invite to go to Stanley's house anytime I was up in the L Street area, if I was working in the studios and things like this, or go and pay him a visit and see him. And he was lovely to work with. I loved him. He was a really nice guy.
We've got time for one final question. Do we have any? No question at all?
Any more?
Okay, in that case, I'm curious to know that I know that you have won the British heavyweight weightlift title.
Yeah, that's my early career. Yeah, I was a bodybuilder years ago when I was a boy. Well, not boy. When I was getting older, I got very interested in bodybuilding when I was about 17, 18. I started exercising and training, and my big ambition in life was to win a bodybuilding competition. And so I trained and trained and trained. I started entering what they call junior Mr. competitions to start with. And I was quite successful. I never actually won anything, but I was always like in the first second or third, something like this. And then of course, as I got older, so you then enter what they call the Mr. competitions, which is like over 18s, as it were. And then training went well, and I was getting progressively bigger and a bit more muscular. I think that my biggest problem was I was 6'6", and I had to make so much weight to look proportionate as the smaller guys. The smaller guys only got pounds, maybe 15, 20 pounds in body weight, and they look great. With me, I was having to put on 40, 50 pounds of weight in order to look any good. But eventually, I got good enough to be invited to enter the Mr. Universe contest, which I did. And then, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And then I think I got a bit despondent about bodybuilding competitions, and I changed over. I was getting quite strong at the time, so I changed over to competitive weightlifting. And I became the British heavyweight weightlifting champion. It was very, very pleased with that. And I went to the European. I competed in the European Championships, and I competed in the World Weightlifting Championships. I had a very interesting career as a weightlifter, and then I got my own health studios and had my own weight training gymnasiums in London. And I finished up with. I had an exercise consultancy in Harrods, which is one of the greatest stores in the world. I had an exercise consultancy in Harrods. I had a gymnasium at the Grosvenor House in Park Lane, which is one of the most famous London hotels. I had my own. I had my own gymnasium over at London Bridge. This is all at the same time. I was quite successful as a sort of bodybuilder, come weightlifter, come gym owner. So that was what I did for ages and ages and ages. And I started getting all the offers of work in show business. But it was my major contribution in life was in weightlifting and bodybuilding. That was my big thing. Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, but we're kind of running out of time. So if anyone wants any final questions, otherwise we'll give a warm applause. Yeah, one final question.
If you could choose any role to play, what would it be?
Any role? Oh God. No, that takes a lot thinking about. I think James Bond. I quite like to do James Bond. I was, Sean Connery, for instance. He was a bodybuilder and weightlifter. He entered the bodybuilding competitions, and then Roger Moore, which I actually trained Roger Moore at one stage. Did a bit of exercise training with Roger Moore. I've had an interesting career. Met some interesting people, and had lots of interesting people. Oh, and to tell you something else, I trained Christopher Reeve for Superman. He came over to the UK, and I got introduced to him, and because I tried very, very hard to get the part of Superman for myself, you see. And I kept on getting turned down, you see. They said, no, we can't have an Englishman playing Turk, we can't have playing Superman, it's got to be an American. You see, so eventually, as I said, this guy Christopher Reeve turned up, and he turned up at my gym. And they said that, and of course I got this tall, skinny guy who was supposed to be Superman, you see. So they said, I said, you know, what do you want, excuse me asking you, but what do you expect me to do? They said, well, we want him to build him up. How much, you know, I said, well, how long have I got? They said, well, you've got about 2 months. I said, well, I got 2 months to put about, they want me to put about, I suppose, 3 or 4 stone on him in a couple of months. Oh God, I went around, I got all the protein foods and everything I can get down him, like, you know, and I was feeding him everything I could, you know, everything I possibly could, and training him five days a week at the gym and things like this. And he used to come in. I used to have this exercise consultancy at Harrods at the same time, and he used to come and see me in Harrods. Oh, we used to have lots of good times together. But in the finish, he looked reasonably well. By the time he went into his Superman suit, he was a lot better than he was when I first met him, I'll tell you. So, but it was an interesting experience. Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, but we're out of time, so we need to round up.
Oh, sorry. I've enjoyed talking to you. It was very nice. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Big applause to David Prowse. That's all right. Keep the applause coming. Keep it up.